Cellepathy is best known for the distracted driving prevention technology that we sell to large companies. But today we're announcing a new solution, our next solution, a new type of navigation technology that I'm very excited to tell you about. Our company is focused on, obsessed really, with sensor algorithms, mobile sensors, the science of human decision-making and attention, and of course with the driving experience. But before I get into what all of this means for navigation tech, I want to share two observations about turn-by-turn guidance with you that I think many of you will be able to identify with. The first observation is that some turns are more important than others. Let's look at an example. When I drive to work in the morning, I'm supposed to turn right at the end of my street and go towards the highway. I've driven this way a million times before. It's incredibly unlikely that I make a mistake by going left, but if I do, what happens? When I get to the end of the block, I turn around. It's a quiet residential neighborhood. It's really easy to fix this mistake. It costs me about a minute of my life and I'm back on course. There's a low chance of making the error, a low cost if the error occurs, and therefore this turn, the instruction to turn right at the end of my street is not very important. But now we're on the highway, okay? I'm still on the way to work, very familiar with the route, low chance of making a mistake. But if I get off on the wrong exit, or if I miss my exit, that's going to be very costly. I might have several kilometers before I have a chance to turn around and get back to where I need to be. And that's frustrating, that wastes time. So even though there's a low chance of me making a mistake, the cost of a mistake, if it happens, is high, and therefore this turn, the instruction to exit the highway here, is of high importance to me. Comparing the two turns, we have the turn at the end of my street, the exit from the highway. One of these is clearly more important than the other. Some turns are more important than others. The second observation is that the importance of any turn varies from person to person, from driver to driver. So this is a zoom out on my normal route to work. Most of the time I get on the highway, I go all the way down to the end, and then I exit on Merrick, and I take that left, and I get straight to the office. But today, my navigation software knows about a car accident and a traffic jam. And because of that, it has routed me a new way to get to work, using side streets to avoid the traffic. The thing is that I've driven to work a million times before, and I've always gone straight. And when I'm driving, I like to listen to music. Sometimes I have a phone conversation. Sometimes I'm thinking about work and about a big speech I have to give at a conference later on in the day. It's not the safest way to drive, but most of us do it anyway. We're kind of always half in the game, half out of the game, driving a little bit on autopilot. So when I get to the point that I'm supposed to turn today, when I get to this blue arrow, my expectation is to keep going straight like I did yesterday and the day before and the day before. There's a really good chance that I might miss this turn. My history increases the chance of me driving straight into that traffic jam. So there's a high chance of error, a high cost of the error, obviously, because I'll get stuck in traffic, and this point is critically important to me. But what about a different driver? My friend. She doesn't travel on this highway often. In fact, she's visiting from out of town. She's never driven in my neighborhood. As a result, she doesn't have the same bad habits that I do. She doesn't have the same mental momentum that I do. So when she arrives at the blue arrow, there's nothing strange, nothing unexpected about exiting the highway early instead of going straight. Her chance of making a mistake here is normal, just like she has a chance of making a mistake at any turn, but it's not especially high. Normal cost of error, high importance. So the importance of the turn varies from driver to driver. Because my history predisposes me to go straight, my risk is greater here than hers. The importance of any turn varies from driver to driver. And yet, turn-by-turn navigation doesn't account for either of these truths. When someone plots a journey, all the information, the important turns and the unimportant ones, are all delivered exactly the same way. That's a lot of annoying, unnecessary, obvious information that's being thrown at the driver. We call it noise pollution. And the user's only defense, the only means of filtering out this noise pollution is the volume control. Turn the volume all the way up, turn the volume all the way down, or just turn the software off in the first place. And that's what many, many people do on some or all or part of their trips. In fact, market research shows that the leading reason drivers choose to turn their navigation software off before they get to their destination, or not to use it at all on a trip, is this information overload, the annoying instructions that they already know. And that brings us to Ergo. Ergo is an artificially intelligent personalization engine that scores the importance of every turn on a journey for each driver based on their history and preferences. Navigation software that uses Ergo silences the information that users already know and don't want to hear, while emphasizing the really important information that they actually need. And the result is a more natural, satisfying navigation experience that users are more likely to turn on and less likely to disengage from. Ergo is not a standalone navigation product. There are plenty of companies in this conference that make end-to-end navigation software and do a great job. Ergo is a new layer in the value stack that receives a list of turn-by-turn instructions from the routing engine, analyzes, in some cases modifies and enhances them, and then sends it back to the navigation app so that it can modify the way that it delivers instructions to drivers. At Cellepathy, we believe that personalization is the next step in the evolution of turn-by-turn guidance. And to put this in context, about 20 years ago, digital turn-by-turn guidance began to emerge, and people were able to use it when they were driving to an unfamiliar destination, someplace they hadn't been before, they didn't know how to get there, maybe they're on vacation, they don't want to get lost, they would use this software. And the user interface would visually show and audibly announce every turn along the way. People used the software, but not very much. There was no reason to navigate to a familiar destination, someplace you'd already been. About 10 years ago, real-time traffic appeared on the scene and totally overhauled the way that people engage with their navigation software. All of a sudden, now, there was a reason to use turn-by-turn guidance when you're driving to familiar routes, like your route to work. The startup company Waze promised to save every driver 5 minutes a day as long as they use the software every time they drive. From a tiny base of a very small percentage of total miles being used with guidance, that started to climb and engagement rose. We're now solidly in the era of real-time traffic guidance, and millions of people use navigation as a form of insurance against getting stuck in traffic when they're going someplace they already know how to get to. But we still have a user interface that was designed for getting to unfamiliar destinations. It's a bad user experience, which is why so few of the miles that are driven in the world are driven with navigation software running. By silencing unnecessary, obvious instructions, personalization will improve the user experience for the trips that people take the most often, and the proportion of navigated miles will increase. The result will be more data, better engagement, more revenue for the companies that partner with us. Ultimately, we believe that everyone will drive all the time with an artificially intelligent personal navigator watching over their shoulder and keeping them out of trouble, speaking only when there's important information to deliver. If you'd like to learn more about how Ergo can provide this improved, enhanced, more personalized, more human experience, please come visit us at our table. Thank you very much.